I can say with almost certainty that if you'd ever asked, I would have married you. Hey guys, I know it's not Sunday, but it is me on your picture square today, and that is because Andy had a work conflict and needed somebody to fill in, so you're going to see her on Sunday instead. I just got off of work myself, and so it's kind of late, but you get to see what I look like after a day of running around the newsroom, even though I didn't really run today, doing stuff. This week we are supposed to be doing anonymous letters to somebody that has hurt us in our past, and I knew automatically who I was going to give my video to, and it's not really that anonymous because if the person was to watch this, I know that you would know it is you. I remember the first time I ever saw you. I remember it to a T. I remember which direction you walked into the room, where I was seated, where people were seated in correspondence to me. At the time, I didn't know why I would remember that moment, but as the years progressed into our friendship and then our relationship, I now know that that was a moment that I wanted to remember. You were at one point my best friend. You overtook the spot that had been held by the girl that I had met since my freshman year of college. You were the person that if I was having a bad day, I would go to, and I knew that you would make me happy. I am almost certain that if you had proposed, I would have married you. Now, this statement probably comes as a shock to my family because my family doesn't even know who you are. And the reason behind that is because I knew in the back of my head that you would never, ever commit to anything that had to do with me. And it wasn't because you didn't like me or you didn't want to be in a relationship with me, but it was just because you just didn't believe in yourself. At least that's what I think. There were times in our relationship that people would like sit back and go, "You're with him? Really? Why?" And I just would get so angry and say, well, why not? Why not? Why not? I loved you despite the stuff that had happened to you in your past. I had loved you despite the stuff that happened while we knew each other. I loved you in spite of everything that ever happened revolving around you. You were exactly what I wanted to be with. Yet constantly, you said you wanted to be with me, but yet you would like say that you weren't worthy enough or that I didn't want to have you in my life, and I did so badly. When I moved away from you and moved to Nashville, I knew that things would not go the way that we had planned them to be. The fact that you did not want to drive 25 minutes up the interstate to come see me tore my heart apart, and I just figured after 4 months of barely any communication whatsoever that it wasn't going to work anymore, and so I gave up, and that was the end of it, and I had moved on. And then I come back to see friends, and you're there, and you come up to me and say, what can I do to get you back? And me, figuring that it would never happen, said, get down on your hands and knees and beg. And you did. You did. You got down. You said, we'll make it work. I swear that it will happen this time. And I believed you, and everything was hunky-dory. And then, God forbid, not even 5 days later, you can't handle it anymore, and you don't want to be there. I was off of the emotional roller coaster, and then you were like, hey, put the seatbelt on, we're gonna go back on it, and halfway up the loop, you just fell off. It was heartbreaking. I kind of knew it was gonna happen, but like when it did happen, it's the first time in my entire life that my insides literally just like went and it hurt so badly, and I was so frustrated, and I was so mad at you, and I just wanted to have nothing to do with you. And every time your name was brought up, I was just like bleh, bleh, bleh. And I'd always been your biggest supporter, I'd always been your biggest fan, and so for that to happen was difficult for me. It took me a long time, but then I got over it, and again I got over you, and you didn't believe me, and you wouldn't be my friend anymore. And anytime I talked to you, you would automatically assume that it was malicious or that I hated you and it was over and it was done with and I wanted you to be my best friend again, and you wouldn't let it happen, and I still feel like you won't let it happen. And there are things about me that you know that nobody else knows, and so it's difficult to just ignore the fact that you exist. But I feel like that's what I have to do sometimes, because you won't let me be there, and it hurts.